So this is not a trick question, and this is hopefully not a jarring one either, but let's just be straight about it, okay? And I probably asked some of you this on a one-to-one fairly recently. When was the last time that you had 10 days worth of picture perfect box ticking? Can you remember? When was the last time that you had 10 days worth of picture perfect box ticking? And by box ticking, I mean all the big needle movers which I've given you. And for the vast majority of you, it's going to be tracking your food intake, making sure that you're hitting your numbers, not just tracking them, hitting all gym sessions in which I've prescribed for you and you said that you can do across a 7-day period, getting in the steps and making sure that sleep's where it needs to be. When was the last time that you just had 10 days worth of box ticking? And I've got answers from last month, so fairly recently, to none, to never. Cool. Again, this is now not to trick you out, but it is to say that if you see, so recently over the last 2 weeks, cool. Again, answers range from recently to never. And how many of you have heard by certain fitness influencers or just motivational speakers or anyone on social media, right? Probably me, right? That consistency is the key to success. Because what happens when you box tick for one day? You eat your salad, you hit your protein, yeah. You go to bed on time, you get your water, you get your steps in. Everything's all good. What happens to your physique next day? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Might drop a bit of weight, but it's going to be water weight if it's only a 24-hour period. This is shit. Where's my results? Where are my abs? Yep. Cool. So if we now consider that we have to do it again and again and again and again in order to solidify the results in which you now want and be consistent, potentially, for those of you that have said none or never, okay, that's a bit of a problem. If you cannot remember the last time that you couldn't rack up 10 days worth of consistency, this is now not to name and shame, but it is to bring around the awareness that that's probably what's missing and probably what's lacking. Because oftentimes the conversation is like, I need a new training plan, or maybe my food's off, or I need a new macro plan, or maybe I need to be eating then and not then, or what about this supplement, Sharif, or what about this meal timing hack? No, you just need to be consistent in doing what you need to do. Okay. The boring basics, the world-class basics, that is what's going to get you the sexy results. Rather than now just leave the conversation there and drum into you that you have to be consistent if you want to win, I'm literally going to teach you how to be consistent. Okay. Because if we can all agree that that is the missing piece of the puzzle, and if I can get you to string up more days than not, whereby you're hitting rather than missing, would you agree that you're going to get faster results? And therefore more buy-in, more motivation, you feeling better, everyone's winning. Yeah. Because I hear a lot personally, right? Consistency, consistency, consistency. But I'm not hearing too much about like, all right, how do I actually be consistent? And this open office, this little presentation today is going to talk to you about how to actually harness the consistency in which you need for faster, streamlined, and really predictable results. So take note. I'm probably going to put this in the lab. It's going to be a core training, and I think it's going to be really valuable to go back to as well. All right. So how do we get more consistent? Let's dive in. Okay, so I'm going to be diving around a little bit about training, a little about nutrition, a little bit about mindset, but ultimately the things in which I'm going over right now will cause you to get a faster result. Number one, adopt a meal plan in quotes, or at the very least, plan your meals. Okay, so not to bore you, but quick history lesson, right? Back in the day, I'm talking like 10, 15, 20 plus years ago, maybe, there was no such thing as macro tracking. There was no such thing as MyFitnessPal. There was no such thing as flexible dieting or just like hitting the foods in which you ate and hit the numbers and you get your result. Okay. That wasn't a thing. It was a case of, okay, you want to be in shape. Here are the meals in which you eat per day. These are the foods. These are the quantities. Go. Okay. Whilst people were allowed to adopt that meal plan and basically be on it, it worked 100% of the time because it's written down. You know that it's going to put you in a deficit. You know that that plan's got enough protein in. And as long as you can adhere to it, it works. Now, what was happening was people couldn't adhere to it long term. And that's when we get the whole flexible dieting thing and people actually realizing that, well, hold on, there's no magical foods. There's just going to be magical quantities in which is going to allow me to get my result. So why can't I swap out oats for cereal? Why can't I swap out chicken breast for whey? And the answer to that is you can. But if we start being too flexible and we lose some of the very structures which cause this meal plan approach to actually be very successful, then essentially you get nowhere fast because you're being too flexible. So on one hand, we've got like rigidity. Okay. Eat these foods in these quantities. Don't ask questions. Fucking go. And a lot of poor coaches who don't understand nutrition will still give you this thing. Okay. And when their clients can't, adhere to it, they'll blame the client, which is ridiculous. But on the flip side to that, waking up and there's nothing on your MyFitnessPal and you're waking up and winging it is also a massive, massive error. Okay. So when I say adopt a meal plan, I would do something like write yourself a 7-day meal plan with the foods in which you enjoy, look forward to, and hits your targets, because then we've got a number of benefits. I'm just going to rattle through them. Okay. Or at the very least, this could be beneficial to you if number one, you're a busy person. Do you have time to be playing nutritional Tetris in MyFitnessPal all day long? I certainly don't. I know you don't either. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you're the sort of person who thrives on structure. You know what's happening when it's in the diary. You're very organized. You're very on it, either socially, professionally, what have you. Number three is that you're the sort of person, potentially you're a family man or woman, potentially you're a businessman or woman, and you've got 101 different decisions to make per day, not only for you, but for yourself. Do you want to be adding to that decision list when it now comes to, should I eat this? Should I eat that? Should I eat this? Should I eat that? Should I eat now or should I eat now? Should I eat a big meal or a small meal? It sounds really stupid, but I think we make something like 200 plus decisions just about food each and every day. And willpower fatigue is a thing. Okay. The more decisions you got to make per day, the more likely at some point it's going to go and it's going to snap. And typically when it does snap, what do? Reach for chocolate, reach for shit, reach for some dopamine rewarding foods, which are going to fly in the face of what you actually want to be doing. Okay. Number four is that it's going to actually encourage you to have variety within the parameters, which will get you a great result. You could do your meal plan and write down on a bit of paper, chicken, sweet potato, broccoli, times 6. You're going to feel like a bit of a lemon doing that. And you're probably going to want to include a bit more variety. And because it's in there, you're going to potentially allow yourself to have a bit more variety because you know what's what. Again, within the confines which you already know is going to work if you just follow it. And then lastly, if you don't like tracking, track it once. Track a day's worth of food and run it, rinse and repeat it. If you're not getting the results in which you want right now because you're lacking consistency, it is probably because you're being too flexible with your approach and adopting a type of meal plan, a hybrid meal plan, which I've just described, could be the way forward. Just before I move on, is everyone with me? Does that make sense? Are you on board? Do you see problems with that? Of course there are. There's going to be problems with everything. It's not going to be perfect. But I do think that this kind of structure has been lost in today's kind of like nutrition, dieting, coaching space. Yeah. And people just basically waking up and winging it, hoping for the best. They're grabbing grenade bars on the go. They're grabbing new fit shakes on the go. They're having a bunch of coffees and they're just hoping at the end of the day, they end up hitting their numbers and they end up feeling good. Yeah. You probably need some more structure to that. So, team, I'd love to know, how does your days look? Are you more structured? Do you eat the same things for breakfast and lunch? Are they on rotation? Is dinner like the wild card? Are you pretty much, you know exactly what you're eating, breakfast, lunch, dinners? Maybe you're kind of on it Monday through to Thursday, Friday. Weekends are a bit of a mess. Or maybe you just kind of wing and freestyle it. And actually, just looking at this has hopefully made you think that shit, I need to tighten up a little bit. I know roughly what I'm eating, pretty similar apart from weekends. Yeah, pretty much same food. Plug in the stuff the night before on MyFitnessPal. That is the biggest hack I can give you. Do not track after the event. We had a whole open office, didn't we? When we talked about how easy it is for the bites, the snacks, the licks, the nibbles to literally add up to thousands of calories over the week. And then bang, that's your deficit gone. Track before, not after. All right. Awesome. Okay. Back in. Cool. Number two, plan in the workouts and steps. I say this nearly every single week, right? But just like you're planning when you're going to have that client meeting, when you're going to meet a friend, when you're going to do whatever it is and it's in the diary, Plan the same thing when it comes to your workouts and steps and steps. Okay. Unless you're in the luxurious position whereby, you finish work early, you don't really have that much on, and you can basically just fit this in no matter what. For most of us, our diaries are pretty packed, but you need to put in the workouts and the steps in as appointments, which you book with yourself, which you're not going to miss. That makes sense. Yeah. And again, all this is subject to change. And life does throw you curveballs and what have you. But I was having this conversation as well with another coach, and he was a younger coach, and he was actually having a moan about his clients, and he was like, it's not that hard. I asked them to get to the gym like minimum 3 times a week, do some cardio, do 10,000 steps a day, get to bed on time. Blah, blah, blah. It's not that hard. And I just thought about it, and I was like, actually, it is. It is hard, or at the very least, it's a time commitment. 10,000 steps takes what? Most people 90 minutes ish. Yeah. So it's an hour and a half. Okay. Then if it's a training day, you got to what? Drive to the gym, work out, drive home. That's what? 2 hours? Okay, that's another 2 hours. What about the meal prep? You got to prep your meals in advance, track it on MyFitnessPal, get to bed on time. Like all these things take time, and I'm under no illusion that it does. However, planning them in and using systems such as our high performance planner and looking through, the systemizing high performance training, which we've got in the foundations for success in our lab, is going to be key, especially if you're constantly missing workouts and missing steps. That is a time management issue. That's all. Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Stay with me, team. Number three. Okay. How do we get more consistent? Remind yourself of consequences, because whether you do and smash your goals and break through that glass ceiling and look and feel your very best and incredible, or you don't, both of them, both of those choices have consequences. Okay. Both of those choices have consequences. So sometimes when you're checking in, you're like, have you done what you said you're going to do? You're like, not really. That has a consequence. When you choose to say no to certain things, do the cardio, get the steps in, get the workouts in, that also has consequences. Okay. Get really clear on what happens if you basically rinse and repeat the last week for the next month, on 2 months and 3 months. Is that going to move you forward? If yes, fantastic. Get clear on those consequences. How good is that going to feel when you're in those clothes, you're getting those compliments, you're rocking whatever it is on the beach? That's going to feel good. That's a consequence of your actions. But also, if you're consistently missing the mark, that will also have consequences. Largely on the trust and the kind of faith you have in yourself to get the job done, which can be damaged if you keep on missing and missing and missing and missing. All right. So there's consequences if you do, there's consequences if you don't. Okay, this is a fun one. Public accountability / a reverse bet. Let me give you an example which is closer to home, right? So, some of you know, I started a photo shoot prep at the beginning of this year. Had a bunch of different events, holidays, socials, one thing after the other, and it never really took off. Or at the very least, it did for a little bit, and then it was like, ah. And it was also because I hadn't actually booked in the damn shoot. I hadn't paid over my money. I hadn't booked in a date. So it was like, if someone did say, let's go out for dinner, let's go out for a few drinks, I found it hard to say no, because why would I? You know what I mean? So having that accountability of someone doesn't have to be a photo shoot, right? Could be a holiday, could be whatever. But again, that whole thing of like deadlines driving decisions, having that accountability publicly, right? Meaning that I've just paid someone money that if I turn up to that shoot, not looking how I want to, because of the work I did not put in, I'm going to feel like an absolute lemon. And I'm not up for that. On the flip side of that, when we talk about kind of that pleasure and pain and that consequences right there, something called a reverse bet. Oftentimes, we as humans, right, we're more motivated by pain than we are pleasure. I had a guy once who dropped a shit ton of weight with me. And the reason why is because he had bet, I think it was his brother-in-law or something like that. He was like a big Arsenal fan. I don't really follow football. I'm not really into it. He was a big Arsenal fan. I think I'm getting this right. And he basically promised his brother-in-law that if he didn't lose the weight or get to his goal or what have you, he would have to give $1,000 to like the Tottenham Association or what have you. And for him, that was like the worst fucking thing in the world. Like he's not up for that whatsoever. Okay. So it's like a reverse bet. So it's forcing his hand that if he doesn't do it, then I'm going to publicly do something which I'd really rather not do. A lot of you will look at that and be like, oh, that's cute. Like, I'm not going to do that. Maybe you should, you know? Just raise the urgency of it and have that reverse bet. What's something which you would absolutely hate to do and you would only do if you fell through on your goals? Have a little think about that. Because there was no way that this guy was going to give that much money to a team he absolutely hated. And he didn't. And he did really well. Okay. Right. Awesome. Number five, I've talked to you about this before, but reward yourself after certain milestones. Okay. Not necessarily with going off radar for weeks and months on end and, going around a tasting menu of London's fine dining and what have you, because that's a very quick way to put on the weight back. But buy yourself something nice. Reward yourself with a hotel, a spa, a holiday, a treatment, some new gym clothes. I don't know, whatever you're into. If you don't do that, you'll get blunt, you'll get bored. Okay. So let me ask you this. When you lose the next 5 pounds or 5 kilos, however fast you're going right now, whatever metric you're using, how are you going to reward yourself? Chuck it in the chat box. Let me know. How are you going to reward yourself for the next 5 pounds or 5 kilos worth of fat loss? What are you going to do? How will you reward yourself? Because if you don't have this in your mind and it's not something which excites you, all that will happen is you will get complacent, you'll get bored, and then you'll likely reverse back to what you were doing because, hey, it's all good. So chuck it in. This should come very easily to you. You should have done this work already. How are you going to reward the next 5 pounds, the next 5 kilos worth of fat loss? Come on. Couple pints of Guinness. Couple pints of Guinness is cool, man. If it stops at a couple pints of Guinness. How many calories in a pint of Guinness? I genuinely don't know. Um, it's not my thing. I've had one before in Ireland actually with a shot of whiskey, and that tasted incredible. But that was because of the setting. 240 in one pint. Wild. I wonder people put on weight when they slam back like 10 of them. New outfit, holiday, love it. Very good. So reward yourself with stuff which you're excited about and which doesn't sabotage your goals. All right. And hey, like all jokes aside, if it's a big tear up, few drinks, even if it's just a meal out, right? That's totally cool. It's not going to mess up your progress in the long term. Okay. Hopefully you're still with me. Number six, reset that vision. Not going to embarrass him, but there's a client that's still with me now. When he came on and we had that first call, he was like, yo, Sharif, just get me back to my rough wedding weight. Okay. I'm not going to surpass that. I'm not going to look any better than that. I don't want, to be shredded and, muscle man on the beach, nothing like that. I just want to be healthy. I want my blood markers to look good. And I just want to be roughly the weight I was with my wedding because I felt good then. Okay, cool. A few months later, bosh, we get him there. Now what? Oh shit, actually, I want to put on some muscle. Okay, cool. Then we take him through that. Bang. He's stronger than he's ever been before. Wider shoulders, stronger arms. Do you know what? I've always wanted that six pack. Cool, let's do it. And I guarantee you will do it. Because with every little step, you reset that vision. Again, if you don't reset the vision and you're just happy with the 5 kilos you've lost, the 10 kilos you've lost, the 15 kilos you've lost, whatever it may be, like, I'm not saying you need to get lighter and lighter and lighter. No, far from. Like, use the example which I've just given you. But if you don't reset the vision as to where you're going, why you're going there, and how you're going to get there, again, you'll get blunt, you'll get bored. So reset that vision. Okay. A lot of you have dropped the best part already. Okay. I don't care how long it's taken. 5 kilos down, 10 kilos down, 15 kilos down, 20 plus kilos down. That's a lot of weight. Okay. Which you probably didn't have in your mind that was going to happen. That's already gone. That past version of you is now gone. If you don't reset the vision of where you're headed, the risk is losing and gaining the same weight over and over again, which you don't want to do. Okay. Cool. Number seven, streaks. You can get apps, right? And I'm not talking about like stripping off naked and running around. Although if you do that, it's fine. Just don't say I told you to do so. It's part of the protocol. Sharif told me to. Get in a lot of trouble. What I mean by streaks is kind of like what we're talking about at the very start of this. How many days in a row can you rack up the boxes in which I've asked you to tick, and can you tick it? People love that visual aid of like, done it, done it, done it, done it, done it, done it, done it. And, if like managing your nutrition, doing your weights, getting the steps in, getting to bed on time, hydrating, if all that feels like quite a lot per day to tick and it feels like I'm never going to get there, pick one thing that you constantly struggle with. Let's be honest, for most people, what's it going to be? Nutrition. Okay. Pick how many days in a row you can get by hitting the calories and hitting the macros which are prescribed. Tick it. And what you'll find is that you'll build up a lot of dopamine with those green ticks in which you now see in front of you. Okay. And guess what? With this, if you break the streak, it's not like you go back to square one. You can just give yourself a little cross and you get right back on track with your streaks. I guarantee if you do that with the things I've asked you to do, and you look back in 30 days' time, and there's more green ticks than red crosses, your physique will have changed positively. Guarantee you. Okay? It's your ability to do it again and again and again and again and kind of gamify the process. That makes sense? Yeah. Okay, cool. Progress pictures. I cannot tell you how many times, male or female, scale weights being sticky. I've only lost half a pound. I've only lost a pound. I've only lost a kilo. I've only lost 2 kilos, whatever it may be, right? Okay, cool. Can I see your progress pictures, please? Yeah, great. Bang. I put them side by side. Oh my God, I look completely different. Clothes are feeling better. You're getting compliments. Pictures looking better, but you haven't given yourself the ability to look at them side by side and actually realize the progress in which you have been making. And if it's been a long period of time and progress pictures are looking the same and weight hasn't moved down, then you need to ask yourself, what am I missing? What's going on? Okay. Again, my metrics of success, or at the very least discerning, are you in a plateau or not? Zero improvements across the board when it comes to progress pictures, scale weight, or a hip and waist ratio. If one of those things are improving, or your clothes are fitting better and you're getting compliments, you are in a deficit, happy days, grab your 200 pounds, go around the Monopoly board. If none of them are improving after, say, 3 weeks, something is off and it's likely your adherence. So then we need to go back to, okay, cool. How can we be more consistent? Go back to this training. All right. Okay. For those of you that said, in fact, for everyone, right? Because the funny thing is that every single person has had green weeks. Every single one of you knows what it's like to have that consistency and to pretty much box tick 10 out of 10. There might be a few things that are off, but for the most part, we're there. So for you personally, listening in right now, what is the thing which derails you and stops you from saying yes to that 10 out of 10 or 10 days in a row question, which I asked in the first place? What is the thing which stops you? That stops that consistency, that stops that streak, that stops that relentless box ticking. What is the thing? Be brutally honest about it. What is the thing? You know, okay? Bang, should come to mind very, very fast. I know mine. Yeah. Socials, mental exhaustion. Cool. Because I guarantee you that it's the same thing when you do get derailed, which happens for you. Okay. It will be the same thing. It will always be the socials. It will always be the fact that you're mentally exhausted and then you go to, food or you don't do the things or whatever it may be. I'm just using those two examples because I can see them. Yeah. Reason being is because your body has built those neural pathways and connections to say that, hey, when this happens, then we do this. When we're mentally exhausted, we sit on the couch and we order pizza. We don't get up and do steps. We don't meal prep because we're feeling fucked. When we're at the socials, okay, we boost pretty hard. We don't look at the menu in advance. We don't worry about calories. We get back on track the next day, whatever it may be, okay? But all I would say is if it's the same thing which derails you, which it will be, fix it. Don't pretend like you don't know it's coming up again and again and again because it will. What you need is better coping mechanisms that when it does happen, you know how to deal with it. Fair? And then we can get even more consistency. And then just briefly, the last one, as you know, bounce back ability, 23 lean, just bounce back faster. It's never about the one meal, never about the one weekend. Okay. It's always about how quickly can you get back on track. If you go missing for weeks on end, for meals on end, okay. I said to one of you today, if you consider, right, how many meals do you eat per day? Let's say 3 for my maths. Yeah. Times 7, 21 meals. Okay, cool. Let's say one of those meals you ate out and you ate what you want. And we had some dessert and what have you. We were indulgent with that meal. Okay, cool. Percentage wise, Okay. That still has to move you forward across the week, does it not? Unless you took the absolute piss with that meal. Okay. But most people don't do that. They have that meal, they feel bad, they come home, they eat everything in sight. They say they're going to get back on track tomorrow, but especially if there's booze involved, now we're hungover. Now we order shit food and we're feeling awful. And actually, I've now just turned one meal into a weekend. Okay, cool. Now I've actually made a dent in my week, 42% of the week or whatever, maybe. Yeah. So, team, that is pretty much it. I've given you my keys to success when it comes to how to be consistent. Now that we basically understood that that is the key to the kingdom, and to harness more consistency is going to get you quicker results.